It's 1940. The world is at war. In laboratories and secret workshops across the United States, scientists are racing to invent new ways to fight an enemy they can't see and to strike with precision from the sky. But in one quiet corner of this scientific arms race, a man named Burris Frederick Skinner, better known as B.F. Skinner, a Harvard psychologist, was working on a project so bizarre, so unconventional, that even his fellow scientists struggled to take it seriously. He called it Project Pigeon. The idea was simple and completely mad. What if pigeons could be trained to guide bombs? Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. What if a bird's brain could be turned into a living guidance system, pecking its way toward a target thousands of feet below? To understand how such an idea ever came to life, we have to understand the man behind it. Skinner was not a military engineer or a weapons designer. He was a behavioral scientist, a pioneer of what he called operant conditioning, the idea that behavior can be shaped through reward and punishment. He had already trained pigeons to play simple games, solve puzzles, even perform sequences of actions to earn food. To him, behavior was programmable, and in the chaos of war, programmable behavior had the potential to become a weapon. Years later, Skinner would recall, "Our problem was one of control. If pigeons could be conditioned to peck precisely, perhaps they could also be conditioned to guide a missile." It was an idea born from scientific curiosity and desperation. By 1941, Skinner's proposal had reached the National Defense Research Committee, the U.S. agency tasked with evaluating unorthodox wartime inventions. At first, it was met with polite amusement, a few lines of funding, a modest workspace, and little expectation that it would lead anywhere. But Skinner pressed on. He began training pigeons in his lab using food rewards, teaching them to peck at the image of a target projected on a small screen. When they pecked accurately, a grain of food would drop. When they missed, nothing. In time, these birds learned to track moving targets, adjusting their pecking even as the image shifted. To Skinner, this was proof. Pigeons could be conditioned to make split-second corrections, the very skill a guided missile required. Soon, he designed a prototype bomb nose. It had a transparent plexiglass cone, and inside it, 3 pigeons would be harnessed facing a screen. The image from the bomb's nose camera would project the view of the ground below. As the pigeons pecked, their movements triggered electrical contacts that adjusted the bomb's fins, steering it toward its target. This was not metaphor or theory. It was a working mechanical interface, a hybrid of biology and technology. In demonstrations, Skinner's birds performed astonishingly well. They stayed focused even amid vibration and motion. They could track a ship on water, adjusting constantly as it moved. Skinner wrote in his notes, "The pigeon was steady, persistent, and surprisingly accurate. It was a small, living computer." But the problem wasn't the pigeons, it was the people. When Skinner presented his invention to the military brass, he was met with disbelief. One general reportedly laughed, saying, "Gentlemen, the country's gone to the birds." The U.S. Army, already skeptical of psychological experiments, considered the idea impractical. Yet Skinner refused to abandon it. He refined the training methods, demonstrating that even under stress and noise, the pigeons could hit within a margin of error far smaller than many human-operated systems of the time. By 1943, Project Pigeon had become a small but official wartime research program, with the goal of producing a functional guidance prototype. But as radar and radio-guided technologies advanced, enthusiasm for the pigeon bomb dwindled. Still, Skinner documented everything meticulously, not just the results, but the birds' behavior, their adaptability, their ability to think through learned response. One military observer later remarked that the demonstration was disturbing. The precision was almost unnatural. The press got wind of it only much later. Decades after the war, media outlets would revisit the story with amusement, labeling it the craziest secret weapon ever conceived. Magazines like Life and Popular Science published caricatures of pigeons wearing flight goggles perched on bombs. The serious scientific foundation, the behavioral conditioning, was often overshadowed by the absurdity of the image. And yet, Skinner wasn't a crackpot. His work anticipated ideas that would later emerge in cybernetics, biological computing, and machine learning. He had built, in essence, the world's first bio-guided smart weapon. Still, as radar systems matured and remote control technology became reliable, Project Pigeon lost its strategic relevance. It was quietly shelved in 1944, revived briefly in 1948 under a new name, Project Orcon, short for Organic Control, and finally terminated in 1953. Skinner himself would later reflect on the project with frustration, writing, "Our problem was not that the pigeons failed, it was that no one would take them seriously." In the decades that followed, Project Pigeon became a curious footnote in the annals of World War II, a story that seemed too strange to be true. To the media, it was comic relief in the grim history of warfare. To scientists, it was a lost opportunity, a glimpse into what behavioral psychology could have achieved if taken seriously. But beneath the absurdity lay a profound insight. Skinner had proven that animal behavior could be mathematically reliable, predictable enough to control machines. That idea would echo far beyond pigeons and bombs, influencing early work in automation, neural networks, and artificial intelligence. In retrospect, Project Pigeon stands as both a triumph and a tragedy. A triumph of creativity over convention, and a tragedy of vision dismissed by disbelief. When asked later why he pursued such an improbable idea, Skinner simply replied, "Because the pigeons could do it." Today, the surviving documents and photographs of Project Pigeon are preserved at the B.F. Skinner Foundation and in the Smithsonian Archives, serving as a testament to a time when science dared to imagine the impossible, even if it involved a bird guiding a bomb. It reminds us that innovation often begins with what's not practical, but with what's unthinkable.